In an important verse in the Quran, we have quite an interesting responsibility laid on those who speak in public. Because speaking in public could be simply to entertain the public. And the Quran is worried about it, that what if in the entertaining of public a lie, a falsehood is spread? So one has to be extra careful in what one says. And the ayah of the Quran that I want us to remember is that in Surah Al-Luqman, ayah number 6, this is what the ayah reads: Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْتَرِ لَحْوَ الْحَدِيثِ لِيُضِلَّ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ وَيَتَّخِذُهَا هُزُوًا أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ مُهِينٌ. In the different translations that I looked at, it says it's taking people to a kind of entertainment through a bad language, telling them lies or something like that to entertain them. And that's been criticized by the Quran, that no, I think that public speaking, public space should be respected for human intelligence and human ability to think about issues. We discussed last night something that's very much related to our understanding of our belief in Imam Al-Mahdi, Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajuhu Sharif. And I think that I started something very important last night, and just a brief synopsis of what I said last night is that I believe that certain levels of belief in the unseen require us to develop an inner strength to accept such beliefs. It's not possible in religion to have all beliefs rationally demonstrable. You can't do that. There are certain beliefs, part of our beliefs, that you and I know that we cannot go through scientific research and establish their validity through human reasoning. It's impossible. One of those beliefs is the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We really need to put faith in Allah, in God, the way you and I believe. And that faith requires inner commitment. What I mentioned last night was that, and my thesis was this, that we need to somehow create in us the ability to understand our faith in the hidden, unseen world. It's not demonstrable by science or by technology, but you and I know that we have a capacity, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not impose on us any obligation that cannot be met by us. La yukallifu Allahu nafsan illa wus'aha. God does not impose on us anything that is beyond our capacity. We have the capacity to understand, and my point was that we need to enact that capacity within us in order for us to understand something like the Imam in hiding or the Imam in occultation. Because that's what you and I believe, that Imam Sahib al-Zaman is in occultation, in an invisible existence. I also mentioned that history is not capable of telling us anything more than it knows from the reports it collects from the people. We know, for example, when Imam Sahib al-Zaman was born, it was Hakima binti Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salam that we find that binti Imam Muhammad Taqi alayhi salam, who was the sole witness to the birth of Imam Sahib al-Zaman. Now, if we were to examine this, through the proper legal documentation or other kinds of documentation, then we might come to the decision that saying that, well, she was only one person who saw it. And once one person is reporting it, that also happens to be a woman, who is not even a man, so to speak. You know how we conceive these ideas. And we say that for each man there has to be at least 2 women witnesses. So Hakima's witness would not count as far as the fiqh or as far as the legal understanding of responsibility goes. But I want to challenge that. I want to say, no, there are certain areas in the law whereby even one person witness is enough, especially if that one person is a specialist. And if Hakima was the one engaged in helping the birth to come by, she was the one who was there to receive the imam, so to speak, receive the child when the child was born, then we are somehow, the law is saying, and I'm quoting, there are so many other legal scholars who would say that her witness as an expert woman, as a matron who gave birth to the child, is acceptable, because she was, even if she was one, because she is a specialist, she is an expert in helping that kind of situation to happen. In other words, history is recording for us something which is not verifiable by you and me. Even for the people who were at that time, it was not verifiable. Therefore, it is very interesting to note that historically the companions of Imam Hassan Askari came to see Hakima and they asked her, did you see it? This is very interesting. That this is reported by the sources. And I'm citing the sources here, and I can open the sources for you, Tabari and others who are talking about it, Sheikh Mufid. The historians are telling us that Hakima was invited by the companions of Imam Hassan Askari and was told to report what she saw. And she said, I saw with my own eyes, I delivered the baby in my hand. And she proved, for example, that yes, the child was born. Historical accounts are evaluated by you and me critically because we want to ascertain something about historical events. And I will tell you what are we interested in. When we are searching historical documents, the purpose is to criticize historical reports, compare them with other reports that might be similar in giving the account of something that has happened, so that we can verify the information. For what reason? Just to create in us a level of certainty, or what should it do to us? And my point here is that, and I'm citing Murtaza Mutahhari, those who had a very keen sense of historical research. Murtaza Mutahhari, among the modern scholars in Iran, was the one who paid attention to how do we evaluate historical information? What should we do with it? Should we accept it the way we read it? Or should we go through the process of verifying its authenticity? And Murtaza Mutahhari was very clear that even if it is sometimes reported by one source that you trust the most, you still have a right to question its authenticity. You should not accept it as a given, that because I trust this authority, therefore whatever he or she writes is correct. You can't do that. And the reason why you don't want to do that, you want to solve one problem. And he says, you know, در جستجوی راه حلی که شما در متون تاریخی میجویید میتوانید لابلای این ادعاها شمعی از واقعیت به دست بیارید تا تاریخ گنگ نمونه. You are trying to go through the historical sources which have contradictory reports. Some are saying this, others are saying this. And this is true, by the way, with all histories, even those histories that are being written in the modern times. In other words, you can't put your complete trust in the history. And yet you are dependent on history. Why? So that a reality can be recognized out of all the mess that has been created by different reports. And he then continues to tell us that about history, and he's talking about the history of Imam Sahib al-Zaman, and he says is, نهایتاً کوشش علمی ما در جستجوی ارزش هاست که ما را آماده عمل به اون ارزش ها می کند. So your search is not simply to verify the reality of what has happened, but it is going to help you to decipher from these historical events a set of values that you want to apply when you are acting on anything in this world. This is my point tonight. You and I are searching for a hidden reality of Imam Sahib al-Zaman. I call it hidden reality of Imam Sahib al-Zaman because historical records, even in his own contemporary time, did not leave for us enough documentation for us to realize that something like that has happened. So we are relying now on the hadith literature. We are moving from history to hadith. Keep this in mind. I said, now we are relying on hadith literature. Hadith literature has one single goal: to capture what is normatively accepted in the community. It is accepted by you and me. Once we say Qala Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam or Qal Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, then you and I, we simply submit saying that this is from the normative source and therefore we need to accept it. What I'm suggesting tonight is, after historical sources, that which should be critically examined is the hadith literature. Because hadith literature does not always comply with the teachings of the Quran. There are many things that are contradicting the hadith that go against the grain of the Quran. Imagine you and I believe in the infallibility of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the infallibility of the Imams, including infallibility of Fatima Zahra salamullah alaiha. You and I believe they are infallible. I'm using a wrong term. I shouldn't use infallible. I should say ma'soom. Infallible is institutional reality, which makes the entire institution unmistakably trustworthy. Are you getting the definition? When we say infallibility, Catholics believe that the church is infallible, not the Pope. Not the Pope as a person. The church as an institution is infallible. That means the church will not mislead its followers. Are you keeping that in mind? In the same way we say, Asamallahu bika min az-zalal. There's the dua that we say. May God protect you from making errors of judgment. I'm a scholar. You come and put a question to me. I'm doing research. At the end of the day, I will tell you very honestly that, I did all the research, but I don't know what the result is going to be. I can't draw my conclusions and tell you that my conclusions are all correct. You might pray for me then, Asamallahu bika min az-zalal. May God protect you from making an error of judgment. Asala. The same word we use for isma, the same word we use for ma'soom. In other words, ma'soom is an individual who is protected because of his perfection. Because of his perfection from making an error of judgment. There are scholars in this world. You and I believe these scholars are impeccable. You will not hear from these scholars error of judgment. If they don't know, they will tell you, I don't know. But they will not give you a false judgment. Do you understand what I'm saying? The perfection of one's personhood is such that that person generates in you confidence. When that person speaks to you, you are saying, Sam'an wa ta'a, I heard and I am obedient. I will obey this person. Because what you have done is that you have developed a trust that his knowledge is such We don't say that he doesn't make mistakes. See what I'm saying? We don't say that he or she does not make mistakes, but what we say, they know what their field is so perfectly well that they would avoid making mistake and they would not give us a false judgment. Do you understand? This is the meaning of Masoom. There was a discussion between Sheikh Saduq and Sheikh Mufid about the meaning of Masoom. Sheikh Saduq used to believe that Imams can forget. He wrote in his I'taqadat that Imams can forget. If they did not forget, then they will be above humanity. It doesn't mean. Now, he leaves this Aqidah in the book just as it is, it stands. They can forget. We don't believe that they cannot make any mistakes. But we believe that they are so perfect that they would avoid making mistakes. But otherwise, they can forget. They are human beings. Sheikh Mufid corrects that opinion. Says, yes, they forget, but they can't forget about matters that are extremely important for the entire community. Do you understand what they're doing? Sheikh Mufid is taking individual ability to make an error, and he says, now we are faced with the situation that if I as an individual can make a mistake and mislead all of you, then that's very dangerous. Because I'm putting your amal and your iman in danger. By putting my false opinion on you, and you have accepted my authority out of all the things that you know about me, and you say, well, you know, this man does his research. He can defend his position. He doesn't make an error. And we'll trust him. Sheikh Mufid says, no, that's not possible. There has to be a distinction between the decision that the Imam makes for the entire community and the decision that Imam makes for himself. When he makes the decision for the entire community, then he's bound by the Isma in such a way that he cannot make an error of judgment. Is that clear to you? In their personal lives, they may forget something. They're told to, one of the Sahaba something. They might say, no, I told you this, but there was an error in this. I must tell you this. But when it comes to collective responsibility, Isma functions as an institutional guarantee that the opinions that are given in the name of the Imam will not contain any material that is not trustworthy. Hadith functions in a very similar way. Today, if you are looking at the Ala'im al-Zuhur, there are so many hadiths about when the Imam comes, what will happen. Ala'im al-Zuhur. When he re-emerges, what will be the condition of the world? You and I are always discussing these issues, by the way. When Francis Fukuyama wrote the book, The End of History, we all thought that, well, maybe he was talking about messianic history, whatever it was. He was talking about political history. He was talking about political institutions. He spoke about the perfection of liberal democracy. And he argued that liberal democracy is the solution for the world. This was about 20 years ago. Today that book is outdated. We all know democracy alone cannot work, cannot function. There's something more needed. There's human integrity that is needed. So Francis Fukuyama's thesis is all null and void, invalidated. By his own understanding, he invalidated his own thesis. Because he thought he was writing something so definitive that it will carry the weight of history. It will carry the weight of the time and space. And we found out that no, it doesn't do it. Now, nobody reads that book. They read it as part of what we call an example of human error of judgment. There are so many ahadiths that deal with. And my thesis is this, that in each period of history, Alam al-Zuhur were constructed by the Ruwat, by the Rawi, to fit the times in which they were living. So they would talk about the fashion of women, for example. There are hadiths about how the women will wear their hair. what they will do. Now, that must have been a fashion during the later part of the Qajar era in Iran, probably. Because some of those authors who are writing about the Alayhim al-Zuhur, they're actually reflecting the time of Qajar. You go backward. You go to the time of Ahl Abuya, the Buwayhid Shia period. You read the hadith at that time, you find Alayhim al-Zuhur, Al-Kitab al-Mihan, this is the book about Kitab al-Manaya wal-Balaya. These are the future events will happen. They are reflecting what we call the times in which they found there was a crisis. I'm going to cite a very important hadith tonight to tell you how this hadith can become a universal moment and how it can become a very limiting movement in the history of the community development. Please read the salawat. I bring the hadith. I was checking the tafsir of Amman Yujib al-Mustarra idha da'a wa yakshifu as-su'. I was checking all the hadith literature about this particular verse, because this particular verse does not stop there. It says, وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ خَلَائِفَ, and we'll make you the Khalifa. أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُسْتَرَّ دَعَا وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ, and as a result, we'll make you the leaders of the world. Read the Quran. I was interested in an immediate shift from أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُسْتَرَّ إِذَا دَعَا وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ that you and I read at the time when there is affliction, when there is worry, when somebody is ill. But the Quran doesn't do that. It's only God who can remove the difficulties from you, and God will make you the Khalifa over the people. As if you will go through the affliction, you will go through the suffering, but you will become the leaders of the community. Do you see the implication? You and I read the verses I'm repeating now. Who is it who can listen to you when you are in difficult moment and can remove the difficulty from you? You and I read it and we think that a sick person can be cured. We can do the dua. But that's not what the Quran is saying. Quran is saying, after this immediately said, and we have made you the leaders of the people. That means immediately there is a sense of victory in the Quran. When God's help comes, you will be victorious. Now we can interpret it for our own sake, that when you are going through the suffering, you can say, well, you know, I need help from God. And God will help me and remove my difficulties. And I will be, you know, successful, so to speak. Let us put it in the meaning of success. But the Quran is very clear. It says, جَعَلْنَاكُمْ خَلَائِفَ. We are making you the Khalifa. We are making you the leaders. When I searched for this was what I found in the commentary. There was a hadith to support this. The Prophet ﷺ was sitting with his companions. While he was talking to the companions, a man comes and says, when will the hour happen? Mata as-sa'a. As-sa'a means qiyamat, by the way. So as-sa'a is qiyamat in the Quran. It talks about the day. When will this day of judgment come? That was the question. What is the sign of the day of judgment coming? The Prophet did not answer. He was talking to his companions. He continued. But then he said, Aina as-sa'il? Aina as-sa'il an as-sa'a? What is this man who asked about the hour when it's going to take place? People said, Qala ha. This is the one, you know. And he came forward and said, Ha, ana ya Rasulullah. I'm the one who asked you that question. Now look at the answer that the Prophet ﷺ is giving. قال فإذا زُرِّعَتِ الْأَمَانَةِ فَانْتَظِرِ السَّاعَةِ. Whenever the trust is broken, look for the Qiyamah to come. Are you understanding? This is a universal thing. Whenever people become less and less trustworthy, you can't trust in anyone. When you see that the amana, the trust that you have given, has been absconded, has been wasted, and nobody is accountable for it, then look for the sa'a. قال كيف أزعتها? How shall I, determine this? What is going to happen? I don't know. Zaya shudan. This is the meaning in Farsi, Zaya shudan amanat. When the amanat is thrown out. You trust someone with, by the way, this trusting is so important to keep in mind, that I trust you with a secret I tell you. That is also trust. I tell you something, please don't divulge it. Then you are supposed to keep it to you until you give it back to me. Do you understand? It's not only money, it's not only goods, it's not only estate or, something material, but even the talk. If I tell you that, look, this letter of mine is amana to you, you are supposed to keep it and return it to the person who gave you the amana. The Prophet is saying that, okay, إِذَا وُسِّدَ الْأَمْرُ إِلَىٰ غَيْرِ أَهْلِ فَانْتَظِرِ السَّاعَةِ. This is something that you and I are faced with. إِذَا وُسِّدَ الْأَمْرُ إِلَىٰ غَيْرِ أَهْلِ. The Prophet ﷺ said that when you see the world in which people are taking the authority, taking the position which they don't deserve to take. I come here an ignorant person and stand in front of you as a scholar, PhD, professor, so and so. And when I talk, you find out, oh, come on, he doesn't know anything. Let's say, you find out, oh, he doesn't know anything, In Urdu, se bakwas karta hai, he is simply talking, stupid talk. And this can happen, by the way. You should ask, as a teacher for 45 years, I know I can look at my students' face and find out when I'm bluffing. Yeah, and we bluff a lot in the class. We tell students things, we make stories, we entertain them. We are not only professors, we also entertain them. We tell them stories that have no roots in reality at all. And we do that. And when we do it, the students can read us. That's what I'm trying to tell you. When you tell a story that is not valid, there are some in the audience who will catch you, left and right. No, that's not true. How do you find out when a person who doesn't deserve to be a leader becomes a leader? Very tough question I'm asking you. How do you know when somebody sits on this chair in the member? When you ask him, does he really deserve to guide us? This is the meaning of ahli. When somebody who doesn't deserve to be guiding you has taken upon himself to guide you. This is the alamat al-akhir al-zaman, by the way. This is alamat al-akhir al-zaman. This is when the sa'a will happen. This is when the revolution, final revolution, will be launched. And it will be launched by Imam Sahib al-Zaman from Karbala. The starting point will be Karbala. It will go to Kufa. It will come to Jerusalem. It will go to Mecca. And then it will go to Medina. That's the route given in the Hadith literature, by the way. This is what's going to, when the Mahdi comes, this is what will happen. Little wonder that the Baha'is and the Babis, they picked it up quickly. And the first heroine of the Babi religion, Tahira, she appeared in Karbala. Sayyid Hussein Rashdi, who was the Mufassir at that time and who was also a Shaykhi. There was one of the groups among the Shia who believed in certain things. I'm not going to go in details. It will take me away from my talk, from my topic. And he was, Sayyid Hussein Rashdi. And they knew about this, and she claimed you need to be the agent of the Bab. And Muhammad Ali Bab had declared himself to be the Mahdi. This is, by the way, the beginning of Baha'ism in Karbala. It led to the battle, and Tahira, she was on the horse, and she took the battle. She fought the battle with all the other soldiers. We are confronted with the situation in the history that unfolds some of the events that you and I today, when we read it, we are asking the question, was this the right thing to happen? Why did it happen this way? And the result is very simple. That the Prophet ﷺ, you see, I have not checked how authentic is this hadith. My only source of certainty is it doesn't conflict with the teachings of the Quran. Because the Quran certainly it's talking about qualified leadership. Qualifications are necessary for you to undertake any responsibility, social, political, or any other responsibility. Qualifications is a must. But many are, and in this world there are people who are not qualified. They sit in the judgment, they sit in the leadership roles, and they tell us what to do. And that's what the Quran, but that's what the hadith is saying. When I saw the source, it is also, it is very impressive that this hadith is also mentioned in Al-Bukhari. Sahih Al-Bukhari mentioned this hadith in Kitab al-Ilm, the book of knowledge. And why he brings in the book of knowledge is very important to keep in mind, that one of the things that Bukhari did, he brought hadith under different categories in order to make a point that ilm requires qualifications. Knowledge requires qualifications. You can't claim to have a PhD if you haven't done PhD, right? That's what we know in the world, you know, world of degrees that you claim. There is a way to prove it, that I have done this work. I'm told that in Baghdad you can buy a PhD for $50,000. Yeah, I have been told in Najaf when I was there that they said, you can now buy, you can even buy a medical degree for $75,000. Now what you do when you go to clinic, I have no idea, because you might kill people. But the time has come that money can buy anything. What is a degree? Money can buy faith. Money can buy anything. Here we find that some of the things that we read in the hadith in Bukhari is trying to tell us that in the matter of knowledge, there are many who claim to have the knowledge who are actually not knowledgeable. When you find that, then you must know that the Qiyamah is coming soon. Do you understand? Because it's extremely dangerous to mislead people on the basis of the claim of the knowledge. On the basis of the claim of knowledge. I know it. And I can prove it to you. I can bring documentation. I can read books in front of you that this is my knowledge. What it is trying to prove to us is that there is this inner dimension. Human needs are always described in 4 areas. Let's understand this. There are 4 areas of human needs. There are physical needs. There are psychological needs. There are, I would say, spiritual needs. And there are political needs. There are 4 areas of needs. Most of us are functioning in keeping in mind these 4 areas. Social needs, we need to connect with one another. Psychological needs, we need to be innerly satisfied in what we are doing. We need inner peace. Political needs, we need a system that guarantees justice. What about the spiritual needs? There's one of the needs that we actually neglect. Most of the time, we don't talk about spiritual needs. All these 4 needs are put together through the knowledge of the inner being. The 4 needs actually create a synergy. You can't be, if you invest in one area too much, the other area suffers. If you become too much physically oriented, you're taking care of your body, you're exercising, you're doing everything possible to keep fit, and you neglect the spiritual side, then you have not done enough. You invested in one area and neglected the other area. You might be a very sociable person. Socializing is your very important element of your own existence. If you invest too much time in socialization, you might not be able to pay attention to other areas of your needs. Psychological needs. If you get caught up into psychological needs, you might not be able to take off. In other words, what we say in English is that you make too much investment in one area and the other areas suffer. The true knowledge that you gain is the knowledge that is located within you, inside, which is known in Sufi literature as ma'rifah, irfan. Now they're talking about irfan aini, irfan mawzu'i. You're talking about the irfan, the knowledge that is very objectively palpable, and that which is subjective. The daughter-in-law of Imam Khomeini, Khanum Dr. Tabatabai, was mentioning that irfan aini, according to the teacher, her own father-in-law, was the ability to make a judgment within the range of one's qualification. Are you listening to me? To be able to make a judgment within the range of my qualification. I'm not able to make decisions about things that I don't know. I assess my own storage of knowledge. I tell myself, you don't know this. Why are you engaging yourself in something like that? You're not a physician. You better refer to a physician. You're not a legal scholar. You better go to the legal scholar. In other words, what you are doing is that you are training yourself to look for your own qualifications so that you can make up your mind on very important critical matters in your life. The success of an individual human being is to be able to make the decisions at the right time with the right storage of knowledge and experience that one gathers with the 4 dimensions that I mentioned. I mentioned last night that Imam Sahib al-Zaman is accessible to all of us. There is no special individual to whom he goes. I assure you. You don't need to be a special individual wearing certain kind of clothes or wearing certain kinds of beard or cap or anything to whom he goes. What is the condition to meet the Imam Sahib al-Zaman is to prepare the ahliyah, the inner ability. How do you prepare your inner ability to meet the Imam? I read this book in Urdu, Mulaqat Imam. It was a small book, green cover. I still remember it was published in Karachi somewhere. Those who had met with Imam Sahib al-Zaman. Those who had met. Sheikh Saduq in his book, Ikmaluddin wa Itmamum Ni'ma, has a section dealing with those who have met Imam Sahib al-Zaman. He has several hadiths reporting where they met, when they met, in what condition they met. What I'm suggesting tonight is that there is enough confidence in the faith of humanity to capture the hidden world of the unseen. When you remove those, you know, when you go for ziyarat, what do you say to Imam in the Izn Dukhul? Whatever haram you go, even the haram of the Prophet ﷺ, when you go for ziyarat, you say, Inni a'taqidu anta hayyun. You are alive, getting the rizq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I greet you, you hear me, and you also return my greetings, but I can't hear you because I'm sinful. Have you seen this? Isna Dukhul in Mafati. You go and you read the Isna Dukhul in the ziyarat of the Prophet, in the ziyarat of the Imams, and you find that this is what we say. I believe that you are hayyun, yurzaqun. You are being, given the rizq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I greet you and you return my greetings. Yaruddu salami. La asma al-kalamak. I cannot hear you because my life is full of sins. What you confess is that the sin has been able to cover my ability to go to see you. So if I was not sinning, let's say, I avoid kabair, I avoid grave sins, I avoid even, I'm careful. I don't talk about people, I don't engage in ghiba, I don't do anything of that sort, and I keep my eyes lowered, and I do everything possible. Is it possible for me then to see Imam Riza or not? I'm asking you the question. You tell me honestly with the faith that you have, do you believe that he would answer you or not? If you say yes, then I will say that you can also meet Imam Sahibul Zaman alayhi salam. The condition that I have created is very difficult, but it is also aisar. It is possible. Mumkin. The condition I'm saying is that be aware of your shortcomings. The first step. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that as long as you do the istighfar, God will not put any punishment on you. One of the best zikr in your life, in your everyday life is Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ila Allah ya Rabbi. I turn towards you. Ya Allah, I turn towards you. In other words, you make that humble request. Ya Allah, I do make mistakes. I want you to forgive me. Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayh. I'm not perfect, Ya Allah. Neither as a husband, neither as a father, neither as a brother, neither as a citizen of this country. I'm not perfect. So the best thing to do is to show the humility sincerely. Once you do it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removes the veils from your eyes. Have you seen sometimes in the dream, please don't take me as, I request you very humbly that I'm not a perfect person. I'm a very sinful person. But I want to tell you, I want to share this dream with you that I saw in Najaf on one of the Thursday evenings in the month of Rajab. Early in the morning after the Salat al-Subh, Fajr, I saw somebody is telling me, this is Imam Hussein. And I see the white cloth on it. Why don't you give him ghusl? I said, me? Ghusl to Imam? How can I give ghusl to Imam? I was taken aback, a shock. Give ghusl. Ghusl shumbede. Somebody in Farsi telling me, ghusl shumbede. Give him ghusl. This is Imam Hussein. And there was this small platform and there was a body lying on it. I did not check. There was no face available, but there was a white cover on it. In other words, somebody was telling me, give him a ghusl. And I asked myself, you're not even fit to touch him. Come on. You can't touch him. Can you give ghusl to him? I went to my teacher. I have a teacher, spiritual teacher. He's in Isfahan. And he's very spiritual. Incredibly spiritual. When you go in his presence, you can feel the vibration. So I told him, I've seen a dream that I don't deserve to see. Because I'm sinful. I'm not a good person. He said, doesn't mean that if you're a bad person, you can't see a good dream. You can see a dream. Tell me about it. So I told him about it. And my immediate question was, is it possible for me to be told that I should give ghusl to Imam Hussein? He looked at me, took the Quran, and he opened it. And he started reading it. He said, there is a responsibility on you. You cannot give ghusl to Imam Hussein. He has been already washed. He has already been buried. But you are being told that there is a capacity in you that you can achieve the ends of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. What Imam Hussein wishes you to do. I couldn't believe it. Honestly, I could not believe it. But he said, very clear, said, there is a responsibility on you to take upon yourself to do what Imam Hussein wants. So what does he want me to do? I have no idea what he wants me to do. Said, didn't you hear him saying, Hal min nasirin yansuruna? Didn't you hear him saying, and that call is permanent call. Look at this, huh? This is a permanent call. Hal min nasirin yansurana. You and I, we read in the majlis, we cry, you know. We think, oh, that's the end of it. No. He tells me, my teacher tells me in Isfahan, that that's a universal call. Are you, and what Imam Hussein would say, is there anyone to help me out? Is there anyone who can help me? And he's asking us to help him. If we help him, then we have fulfilled the mission. And this is the secret of when Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, Imam Ali was worried that you and I, when we will come in 2015, 16, 17, we'll forget the mission of the Quran. This is what he said. أيها الناس سيأتي عليكم زمان لا يبقى من القرآن إلا رسمه. There will come a time, O people, when from the Quran nothing will remain but its calligraphy. You've seen people decorating. Fortunately, this place has no Quranic verses, decorated, But it's very interesting the way today we decorate our homes with the verses of the Quran here and there, everywhere they are, except they are not in our heart. They are on our walls. And Imam Ali is saying, سيبقى من ما يبقى من القرآن إلا رسمه. Nothing will remain from the Quran except, how they recite the Quran. You and I are fascinated by the recitations of the Quran. And today there's so much emphasis on recitation. How beautifully you recite. How correctly you recite. There's no emphasis on how are you going to follow this book. Yes, the Quran said there will come a time when people will take the Quran very lightly. Now I'm attending weddings, our weddings, where there is not only dance and music, but also alcohol drinking. These are our weddings, by the way, recent weddings that I've seen with my own eyes. I can't deny that I've seen it. And they become part and parcel of our everyday life. So our physical needs, our worldly needs are fulfilled by doing those things. Whereas our spiritual needs are forgotten. Our spiritual needs are to connect with our inner self, to connect with the inner meanings that you and I are searching for. Then you and I say, oh, it's impossible to see the Imam Sahib al-Zaman, right? I'm saying, no, it is possible to see it as long as you can bring yourself up to the level of being accepted by him. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Put the Quran together. Quran says, كل قوم هاد For all community we have appointed a guide. Ask yourself, where is this guide? And you will find that guide. That's my challenge. That's my challenge. And I will tell you that I cannot reveal everything that I do. When I'm doing research, when I'm writing something and sometimes I'm stuck with one page for 1 month and I can't make sense of it. I'm reading, as much as I read, I cannot translate it. As much as I read, I cannot understand it. I talk to my friends, this is what I'm reading, what does it mean? We don't know. Don't you see, haven't you checked the dictionary? I said, yes. Haven't you checked the commentaries on this? I said, yes, I have. But I still don't get it. I don't get the meaning of it. That means I'm not spiritually connected to my research. Are you with me? I'm not connected to what I'm reading. Because sometimes you read something out of habit. But when you read something for inspiration, it inspires you. It inspires you. A good poem that you read sometimes gives you depth of the meaning. A good line of the Quran, when you read it, gives you the depth of meaning. So the hadith of the Prophet now, I want to conclude very quickly so that I can give you the opportunity. There's one more hadith for tomorrow night. That's Imam Zain al-Abidin's hadith. But tonight, let me assure you, let me try to recapitulate. Critical historical research is important. Don't shy away from asking tough questions to history. Don't ever say, oh, how do we know? Who said this? Oh, it's our duty to listen and say nothing. I say, no. You know what the Quran teaches? You know what is the beautiful dua in the Quran? The most beautiful dua. Try to remember. Qul. What is? Rabbi habli hukman walhiqni bis-salihin. Ya Allah, give me the ability to make proper judgment and connect me with good people. Have you seen this dua in the Quran? Rabbi habli hukman. Ya Allah, give me the ability to make a judgment, make a proper judgment. Don't let me jump to the conclusions about something that I don't know very well. Rabbi habli hukman walhiqni bis-salihin. And connect me with the good people so that I learn from their examples. They become paradigms for me. They become exemplary for me. When you say this dua, then it means that you are struggling to get closer to the ability to judge properly what you know. And what we know, we can judge properly only when we critically assess it. You are afraid of criticism? You are afraid of questioning? And the Quran says, question. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Go and ask those who are experts, those who know about it, those who remember God when you don't know anything. That's a clear message. And when you fall, when you make a mistake, then you also say, رَبَّنَا اغْفِرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيَّ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَوْمَ يَقُومُ الْحِسَابُ. See how the Quran is taking you to the highest level of your ability. And it says, okay, try to remain there. If you can't remain there, if you falter, then try to come at least on the straight path and then go up again. Don't give up. La taqnatu min rahmatillah means this. Don't give up on the mercy of God means this. That means if you show that you are not going to be able to do it, then you will not be able to do it. Imam Jafar Sadiq, you remember? There was this greengrocer somewhere in Medina who used to be his companion. And there was this man who was very arrogant. He said, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, I love you. Ah, we say it so easily. I love you, Mom. Oh, we don't love Mom. Come on. If you loved Mom, you would not bother her so much, right? We know it quite well. If you said, I love you, my dad, and you give your dad the hardest time ever given to anybody, What love of this? What kind of love is this? Yeah, right? So he always say, Imam Jafar Sadiq says, you know, you want to see who loves me? Go. Go to that green grocer in that corner. See him. He comes and says, this is, marcha masala wala, he's selling, pili bazaar, that's what he's doing. Nothing so special. There are no, special marks on his head. There is no kelemba. There is no, nothing is there to show anybody that this is what he is. And that man comes and he looks at him and says, oh my God, look at the way he's so particular about measuring the things that he measures. He eats of halal. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. He eats very carefully. He sells things very carefully. He's aware of the rights of the others on him. And Imam Sadiq says, he is my lover. He's the one who loves me. You and I would utterly fail, by the way, if we claim that we love Imam Sadiq. Imam Sadiq says, oh, come on, stop, don't say it anymore, because we don't behave the way we are supposed to be behaving. So I'm saying that historical criticism teaches us to look upon ourselves in a critical way to find the values that support us. We need those values to apply them in our lives. Once we begin to apply those values in our life, then we know where Imam Sahib al-Zaman is going to be located. That's how you will know. Abu Basir was blind. He wanted to go to Hajj. Nobody would take him. It's difficult to take even older person with you when you go to Hajj. It's not easy like today. There were no 5-star hotels in those days, Now people from England and everywhere, and they're going 4-star and 5-star and 3-star. This is what has happened to the Hajj. Hajj has lost its spiritual ability to awaken us. It's our fault, not Hajj's fault. I want to make it sure. Abu Basir, Mawla, I want to go for Hajj. I'll take you, Abu Basir. Imam Sadiq takes him. And he goes, in those days, Hujjaj were not in millions like today. The total population of Medina during the Prophet's time is 16,000. Total population of Medina. During the time of the Prophet is 16,000. In the rural areas, there were people living, there were tribes living. Far more numerous, some very few. So Abu Basir is telling Imam, he said, Mawla, there are so many people doing the Hajj, they are doing the Tahleel, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasul. Say, Abu Basir, you want to see how many are here? Mawla, I can't see them, I can hear them. They are shouting, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Halim, Ya Kareem, that's what they're doing. He put his hand on his eyes, his 2 fingers on his eyes, and Abu Basir began to see. You know what he saw? He saw swines and dogs making tawaf. There were very few human beings. He said, you saw how many? Abu Basir said, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. He said, yes. It's easy to claim to be religious. It's very difficult to prove your membership in religiosity. It's very difficult. And that's what I'm saying. I'm struggling with you. I'm not able to prove to you the existence of Imam Sahib al-Zaman historically. That's not my job. I will not be able to do that. Because after the age of 5 or 6, nobody has seen them. Those who have seen them is now part of the Hadith literature. Those who have met them is part of the faith community's storage of information about those who met. You and I, we can read them and be happy about it. It's only when you and I meet the Imam, then we can say, I believe in my Imam. Can we do it? I'm saying with confidence, yes. We can meet him in Taif, we can meet him in Makkah, we can meet him in Karbala, and we can meet him even in Birmingham if you so wish to do. You need to purify yourself in order to meet the Imam. The Imam will come to you when you are ready for him. So Ajjal Allah Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif means, Ya Allah, hasten our delivery through him. Because we are living under difficult circumstances, Ya Allah. You know what circumstances we are living through. They are not easy times for us, Ya Allah. You know it. We are asking you, Ajjal Allah Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif wa Farajana bihi, so that we also become delivered through the appearance of the Imam. See what you are doing? What you are doing is that you are putting it on yourself. You are telling yourself that be responsible and you will meet him. As long as you become responsible, you will meet him. It's impossible for you not to meet him. And therefore, Allahumma kun li waliyaka al-hujjat ibn al-Hasan, salawatuka alayhi wa ala abai fi hadhihi as-sa'a fi kulli sa'a. And then, at this moment, at this very moment, make him hadiyan, right? Dalilan, aynan. Make him my eyes. Can you imagine what you are saying? Make him my eyes. You don't even know how to look at him. And you are telling me, make him my eyes, make him my guide. قائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توأ وتمتعه فيها تبينا. That's what you said. Until he comes back and establishes his order on this earth. It's a statement of faith. If you did not have faith, you can't read this dua. It's not a ritual. It's the statement of faith. It's like saying, La ilaha illallah. And you know something? You can never make La ilaha illallah part of your dhikr. No, you don't do dhikr with La ilaha illallah. You do dhikr with Ya Allah. Because La ilaha illallah is a statement. It's the negation of all other gods and establishing one divine being for you. That's what La ilaha illallah means. You should not make the zikr of La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. No, Ya Allah. Because you're making a statement. Allahumma kulli walika is a statement. Ya Allah, make him my leader, my wali, my soul. Hatta tuskinahu ardaka tawa. And he is establishing himself on this earth and he makes it available to us. ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وتوفنا مسلمين. The meaning of sabr is to persevere under most difficult circumstances in the matters of faith which are otherwise extremely difficult to maintain in the modern times. Or at another time. The floor is yours for questions.
Thank you so much, Professor Sachedina, for the very thought-provoking and inspiring words. Thank you so much. We have now question and answers until 9:20, after which we will break up for Salah and then refreshments. So please take this opportunity. We have Professor amongst us to ask your questions and your thoughts.
Don't hesitate to negate me completely. You don't have to accept what I'm saying. You have a right to say, oh, I don't understand. I don't think I believe what you're saying.
If you have any question, I'll come with the mic to you, yeah? So please.
Professor, thank you once again for enlightening us like you did yesterday. And inshallah tomorrow we'll hear more. My question to you is that the Quran tells us that that those who have died in the way of Allah continue to exist, and you briefly touched upon it today as well. How does that life state compare or contrast with the life state of our 12th Imam?
Lifespan.
The life state, because as Imam, 12th Imam is in occultation, and the other people, pious people who died in the way of Allah are also alive. Because the Quran says that
Yeah.
How do you compare or contrast these two life states? Are they the same or are
Yeah.
they different?
I still need to understand your question. One more time, yes, please.
Sure.
Sorry. Yeah.
The Quran tells us that those who have died in the way of Allah are alive.
Those who are,
Died in the way of Allah are alive.
that's right.
And you touched
The
upon that
shuhada, the
briefly
shaheed.
today.
Okay, okay.
How does that life state, say of the 11 Imams,
Yeah.
compare to the life state of the
Okay.
12th Imam? Are they the same or
Very
are they
good,
different?
very good. Now it's very clear. Now it's very clear. Okay. The other imams who are shuhada, who are shaheed, who are a witness to God's existence, who are hujjatullah in that sense, they continue to live a life of inspiration for their followers. So when we remember the imams, when we remember the leaders who have died in the path of God, they are all shaheed, they all, have died in the cause of religion, then you and I still benefit from their life, from their teachings. That's why the Quran says, وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتًا. Do not regard those who die in the path of God as dead. They are the ones who are actually receiving the sustenance from God, but they are also the ones who continue to live in our memory as some kind of therapy. When we remember them, we are cured. As we remember them, we are revived. Imam Sahib al-Zaman has not gone through the Shahada. Therefore, his existence is invisible. For you and me, invisible. Until we remove those veils from our eyes, we'll be able to see him, inshallah. But what it means is that he is still living, and today, in our confusing state of affairs today, he still continues to guide us in a very discreet way. We don't even know that he is the one who is providing us with this help. We read in the history of our scholars in Qisas al-Ulama. We read, for example, Al-Mahdi bothered with certain questions, and he is, if I remember accurately, he is traveling between Kazamain and Karbala, and in the way he drops his shoe or something, and he meets someone who picks up his shoe and gives him, and then he asks him, you have anything on your mind? And he said, this is what I have in mind. And when he receives the answer, it is from, he discovers that this is the Imam, and as soon as he discovers it's the Imam, he's not there. Al-Mahdi, after 5-6 centuries, so to speak. So you're talking about the middle period of the Shia history. So you have so many others who have. I had a teacher in Najaf, and I was very fortunate to have him as my teacher. He was teaching me Kalam, Ilm al-Kalam, theology. So we used to meet in the Haram of Imam Ali every morning to read the text with him. I remember he telling me that, when you go today to meet the ulama, Marja Taqlid, Ayatollah, so and so, you find people are full. Their audience is full of people. But you know something? That they are there for their material needs, not for the spiritual needs. They are not learning anything from the Ayatollah. They are simply there to get some favors from him because he has a lot of money. Because somebody wants to build a house in Najaf, somebody wants to get his daughter married. So they come into Ayatollah and say, we need this much money. And Ayatollah says, okay, go, give this note and take this money. Now that kind of situation has been created. And we know that many a time there are very honest people asking for help. Because of some rotten, people, you should not say that I'm not going to help anyone else. You help them out. And I think that kind of situation has been many a times reported by the Imam helping. Imam's invisible existence is actually existential. That means he's there. You should know how to look for him. We don't know how to look for him. So that's very different from the Imams who have gone through the Shahada as such, martyrdom, and they continue to live in our memory, in our commemoration, in our, inspirations, that the way we love them, the way we read them, the way we know them. But Imam Sahib Zaman is always, we have not, therefore, when you do the ziyarah, you do this for all the Imams, but for Imam Sahib Zaman, you just fold your hands. You say, okay, Assalamu alaikum Mawlaya Sahib Zaman. You don't say this because this is qabr. This is alamat al-qabr. That's not alamat al-qabr. Imam Sahib Zaman, his ziyarat you can read in the direction of Qibla from anywhere. In other words, you have really that kind of freedom in dealing with the Imam the way we deal with him. So my understanding is this, that he is always accessible.
Ahsant. Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum. In the hadith, you said that when the man asked about when's as-sa'a, when's the qiyamah coming, and he said at a time when you're misguided by people who claim knowledge or when the amana is broken. And that happens in time in memorial even, like during history, it's always happening. So in the time of the Prophet, you had like the likes of Amr ibn As, who claimed he was knowledgeable and he misguided people. Or in Saqifa, the amana was broken, the trust was broken. Why didn't Asa come there? Why is Qiyamah not here yet?
You're asking a very tough historical question. And I think your question is valid, but I will say very humbly, I would say that opening up the early history of Islam and trying to analyze it on the basis of the hadith that we have read just now about the Yawm al-Qiyamah. It's Yawm al-Qiyamah. When was the Yawm al-Qiyamah come? There were still good people at that time. There was still Salman al-Farisi. There was still Miqdad, Ammar. So you have still good people around. So the breaking of the amana was not as much an issue at that point. It was the opposition to what the Prophet had laid down, and there were ambitions of the people at that time who were trying to, score points on the Khilafah, on the leadership of the community. So we can say that the hadith of the Prophet, which is recorded in the later sources, sounds very much correct, in my opinion. It sounds very much, authentic, because it does not conflict with the teachings of the Quran. That the Quran does remind us that the moment you break the trust that God has given you, you will see the problems. And the ayah in the Surah Al-Ahzab, for example, إن الأمانة إن أردنا الأمانة في السماوات والأرض على السماوات والأرض. And then the next ayah is ليعذب المنافقين والمنافقات. So the ayah of the amana is followed immediately by the ayah of the hypocrites. In other words, there are bound to be people who are going to play games, and they will play political games. Even now they will do it. Even at that time, it was still the beginning of the history of Islam. We can really not conclude that the Qiyamah would come that soon, without being full test being implemented in the community. Did I answer your question? Can you give? I want to rephrase your question once again, in the light of what I have said.
I'm not so convinced because
you're not convinced
no,
of it.
No,
you're not convinced of the truthfulness of hadith or the amana being broken. What are you not convinced
because
of?
the amana has been broken time and time again, and we've been misguided
And
by
the Sa'ah
people
has
who
not come.
claim knowledge again and again
Yeah.
from from beginning of times.
Yeah.
And then we're saying Qiyamah is coming, or it's
Right.
Asa and all this, but where is it? Surely it should have been here.
In other words, the hadith is false.
No, I'm not saying that.
That's
I'm
what you're saying.
No, I'm saying maybe we haven't understood it properly. So maybe on a personal level it could be Qiyamah, that when you've broken a trust,
No,
maybe, I don't know, but what we're saying and what is doesn't seem.
Mata as-sa'a, when is the hour going to strike? And sa'a is a technical term in the Quran. It refers to the day of judgment. Sa'a, that's what it is. La adri, I don't know when the sa'a is going to take place, the Quran says. Qul, tell them. Because the people were asking the Prophet, when is this Qiyamah coming that you're talking about? And the Prophet said, I don't know. Here, for the first time, there's an indication that there are two things that will happen in the community. The amana will be broken. When you see amana not being fulfilled, then you must know that it is getting close. Close in the religious language is not 1 day or 2 days. It could be even 2,000 years or 4,000 years. So keep in mind, qurb, qareeb, and qareeb doesn't mean like you and I, we have this time limit on our minds. We think, oh, it should happen now. No, there's no now. Now could mean 1,000 years. The Prophet was Nabi Akhir Zaman, as I said yesterday. He was the Prophet of the last days of the earth. So the last days of the earth from that time onward is continuing even now. So we have Akhir Zaman even now. So why isn't it happening? In other words, what you are implying is that in that case, from the way you understand it, the hadith has to be false. Because there is no proper implementation of that promise that the Prophet made. We see the amana being broken all the time. We see people taking authority without being qualified all the time. Should it not happen? That's what your question is.
Could it be that, just speculation now, okay, could it be that there's a personal level of qiyamah that happens when an individual breaks a trust or something like that, and then there's a communal one when it's ready? Otherwise, it sounds like the time was near from the time of Adam and Prophet Muhammad.
I don't think we can really enter the mind of the Prophet ﷺ. We cannot do that. We cannot read his mind when he says it. But on the basis of what the Quran says, I think we can be certain that the Quran does mean that this is the Qiyamah, that means this is the day of judgment. As-sa'a has a technical sense, not now, or not 100 years after, or 200 years, or 1,000 years. So either the hadith is false, or it is our inability to get to the mind of the Prophet to understand the full implications of the hadith. Couldn't be anything else besides that. So Saqifa could happen, Shahadat of Imam Hussain could happen, so many wrong things could go in the world, Holocaust could happen, people could be killed, migrants could be, drowned, all of these things happen, and you find that there is no amana, there is no sense in this world today that these migrants also are human beings. They are being killed. They have dignity. We need to respect their dignity. There's no such concern today. Should we say that the sa'a should come now? Allahu Akbar. Only God knows when it will happen. Yeah.
Which are being kept, but some which are being not been disregarded. And suddenly there were some good leaders and there were some bad leaders. But maybe this hadith means that a time will come and there will be no good leaders and there will be no everywhere.
Certainly,
Yeah?
certainly. But she is right.
Extreme cases, yeah.
Our sister is right that it has happened throughout the history.
But
From
there's
the
also
day
good-
human beings came, we have been seeing that amana has been broken, disqualified people taking positions who have no qualification whatsoever. This is what we have seen throughout the history. It's nothing new. But I think you are right also that here it means that it will reach a point of crisis.
Crisis, that's right.
It will be such a crisis, there will be no way to sort it out unless Allah intervenes. Now the history will be interrupted by God. Because many times I fight with God in my own times. Then how come you're keeping quiet? Ajab sabri khuda darat. Man gar jay ubudam in dunya ro paymal mikardam. If I were in the place of God, I would have destroyed this world long ago. Oh God, you have so much patience. Ajab sabri khuda darat. God has so much patience. He deals with all of us, and we tell lies, we do hypocritical acts, we cheat all the time, we cheat him also. And yet he has allowed us to say, okay, istighfar, do istighfar, I will forgive you. Come, I will forgive you. That's what he does as a good, parent. That's what he does.
Ahsan.
you so much. Thank you.
Prepare for
Inshallah,
Salah.
see you tomorrow night.
Thank you.
Allah